Hello and welcome back to 3 Questions, the show where I ask someone I admire 3 questions about their career. My name is Jake Strong and I hope everyone has enjoyed the first few episodes. Thank you so much for the positive response thus far. The episodes have been so much fun for me, and it's crazy to see the worldwide reach the first episodes have garnered. Today we have one of the biggest names in modern magic, David Williamson. David is one of the premier sleight of hand artists and performers today. He has performed for Disney Cruise Lines and more recently in Circus 1903. You probably have seen his very famous Rocky Raccoon work that is one of the best comedy magic routines out there. David's 3 answers give us an inside look into his unique performance style and how diverse of an art form magic is. Let's get right into it. And first and foremost, I just want to say thank you so very much for doing this. This is a huge honor for me to have you on this. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a huge honor for me to be here with, what's your name again?
Jake Strong.
Jake Strong. Yeah, the Jake Strong show is one of my favorite shows. This is really cool that you're doing this. I mean, how many people have you interviewed?
I have 11 so far.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm kind of building from the start. So thank you so very much for being one of the first,
of course,
to be on here. So kind of spanning across your career, you started as kind of a close-up performer, and more recently you've done a lot more theatrical performances. So my question to you is, what do you love about performing close-up? And what do you hate about performing close-up? And vice versa, what do you love about performing in a theatrical setting? And what do you hate performing about a theatrical setting?
Well, I mean, all the normal stuff. I mean, you could probably answer that question. I mean, these are kind of, to be honest, I don't really hate any part of any of it, but yeah, you have, when I was making my living being a close-up magician, I started out when I was your age being a table hopper, walking around restaurants and things like that. And that was tough, but I learned a lot. I learned how to approach people, and, it was hard. But, even during my corporate years, when I was doing a lot of corporate entertaining, I don't like, fighting with the band and walking around and going up to interrupt conversations in order to do my job. That's the part I hated. I mean, there's a weird thing, when you hire out as a strolling magician at an event, it just sets that situation up where now you're a professional interrupter. That's what you basically are. And in fact, that's what I used to say. I used to walk up to a group of people having a conversation, and the person who hired me is waiting for me to get going to do something. And you can't just wait for a break in the conversation. You got to get to work. There might be 500 people there and you only have 90 minutes or 2 hours or whatever. So you got to go start interrupting people. And I would walk up to a group and say, "Hi, I'm the professional interrupter that was hired for this party. How am I doing so far?" And they'd all look at me like, "What are you talking?" I go, "Pick a card." So that's the part I hated, was just like, you have to start from scratch every single performance. Whereas when you're on stage, people, like if you're lucky enough to be in a production show, people come to the theater knowing they're going to see a magician. They might even know your name before you come on stage. They have a program or something. But yeah, just every time kind of starting from scratch, but I learned in the trenches by table hopping and interrupting people's meals for years when I was a teenager. So I kind of got a thick skin about that kind of thing.
And then what have you loved about performing in the more recent theatrical stuff that you've done?
The thing I love about that is obviously, hearing 3,000 people laugh is just intoxicating. It's a drug that you just want more of every night. It's just fantastic feeling to be up in front of that many people. And the other thing I love about it is working in a company, working with collaborators, working with other people, the dancers and the crew and the lighting people and the other magicians, like in The Illusionist, or when I was in Circus 1903. So there's a whole group of people. You're part of a team, and that was foreign to me, because for decades I was a solo act, just worked by myself, hustled my own shows, did everything myself. and to have your props ready to go and your costume steamed and hanging, waiting for you when you get to the theater, and, food laid out. I mean, it spoils you, but it's also just wonderful knowing you're just going to go in and do your job and focus on the performance, and all the details of travel and logistics and hotels and is left to somebody else. And then there's the camaraderie, just having a lot of fun backstage. And
That
I miss that right now during the pandemic. We were in the middle of an Illusionist US tour with some great people, and we had to cut it short. We never made it to LA. We were headed to LA to work the Dolby Theater there on Hollywood Boulevard, a block from the Magic Castle, for 2 weeks. That was going to be our finale and I couldn't wait, because I was like, I'm going to walk off stage across the street and into the castle every night, because it's half a block away, and I already wear my suit, so
yeah.
I was so looking forward to that, and now I can't do it.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine how nice it is to have everything laid out for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel really pampered, because like I said, for decades it was just all me doing everything.
Yeah. And kind of going back to your one-man shows, getting into question two, when you have kids on stage, it seems sometimes like absolute insanity, and a lot of things are all happening at once. So I want to know, first of all, how much of that, whenever you have kids on stage, is that heavily scripted, or is it kind of whatever you feel like in the moment is what happens?
Well, no, it's not whatever I feel like. Well, that's a tough one to answer, because it's a little bit of both. And the more you do it, the deeper the grooves you cut. So you stay in that groove, but you allow yourself the latitude. I'm looking for opportunities to go off script, but you got to have a script in order to go off script, So it's not just I bring people up and just start, it's playtime. Although early in my career, that was basically how I approached it, because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And it was playtime. And sometimes it was a huge success, and other times it was a giant failure, because I didn't have a plan, So I learned over time to, this works, this doesn't work. Let's have a better plan. Let's think about it. It took me a lot longer to figure that out than other people, because I thought, I just want to be in the moment. I'd never want to do the same show twice, and I had the energy and the confidence to do that. But once I got a little older and a little wiser, I saw that, well, that's not always the best plan, just to hope for the best. You got to have a roadmap. But I still leave plenty of room for fun to happen. And I've had, at this point, I've been with the Illusionist for on and off for over 7 years. I was with the circus, and we did hundreds of shows with the circus for 3 years. And then I was with Disney Cruise Line for 10 years, almost every week on a ship. So thousands and thousands of kids on stage over these past 15 years or so. After the corporate days. During those corporate days, it was just spoiled business people, and it was a whole different thing. But once I started working for families with these production shows and the cruise line, my career kind of kicked into a second phase, and my material changed. But with thousands of kids on stage, you have an idea of where things will probably go. But man, there's always that kid who's going to do his own thing and say something completely unexpected. And I just hope for those moments, because that's when it gets interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, and what I love about seeing you on stage, why you're by far one of my favorite performers, is it doesn't just seem like that you're playing or that the kid's just playing. It seems like you guys are both playing with each other. And
absolutely.
And bouncing off.
Well, that's just my brain. I decided early on, magic for me is playtime, whether it's adults or kids. It's playfulness, and I don't get too serious about it. Because when I started approaching people at tables when I was 14, 15, 16, working the restaurants, I'd come up to an older couple, and I was so scared, because they were my parents' age or my grandparents' age, and I was just super intimidated. But almost 100% of the time, within 3 minutes of me starting to do magic, I saw them turn into children. The child in them would come out, and they would laugh and say funny things. And it was like I saw them transform right in front of me into big kids having fun, And I was like, that's what this is. This magic is a key to unlock the child inside of other people. That's what it is to me. And so that's the way I approach it. Even if we're a big, important, stuffy business meeting, I just love, having fun. And it's kind of like the court jester. I have permission to be silly and to have fun and just let's play here. And that's the attitude I have when I do magic.
Yeah, it's awesome. And
Plus, I'm more, my brain is more in tune with kids than adults. You put me in a room and the adults on one side, the kids are on the other side of the room having fun. I'll always gravitate towards the kids just to play, because I'm bored with adults. I don't have a lot in common with normal laymen. I don't know anything about sports or business, or I don't care.
That makes sense. Yeah, that's awesome. And on the Disney Cruise Lines, you actually teach magic to the kids to kind of help spread magic to the next generation. So, wrapping this up. So, if a parent were to ask you why magic is a good hobby for their kid, what would be your pitch to them to make them be in favor of supporting their kid in magic?
That's a good question. I don't know that I would make a pitch or that I would coach it. I feel that magic is the greatest hobby. I do. I don't know if I would, go out of my way to say, it's like, hey, it's fun. Magic's fun. But, I was talking to somebody once. I do think magic promotes a lot of beneficial endeavors for children. Think about it. Science in magic. There's math. There's applied psychology. There's art. There's public speaking, there's theatrics, can be dance, there's comedy, there's like I said, everything that promotes young growing minds and self-esteem. It's all there in magic. It's just all these various areas of interest, optics and engineering, and anything you would hope that your kid would be interested in. You can find that in the art of magic, which can't be said about many hobbies. That almost everything is in there. It's a big hodgepodge of many disciplines and art forms and sciences. So yeah, in fact, Mike Caveney was at a cocktail party once. He was telling me that he was there and there was a very learned man there. He was a great educator and scientist. I forget who it was, a Carl Sagan type person, somebody very well known and learned. And Mike was very intimidated to meet him. And the man asked Mike, "What do you do for a living?" And Mike kind of, looked at his shoes and shuffled his feet. He goes, "Oh, I'm a magician," kind of almost apologetically. And this man said, "What? Every child should have that as in their curriculum. The art of magic should be in every student's curriculum because it embodies all of these disciplines that are important, blah, 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 blah." And he just listed them off. And then Mike said he just felt like 10 feet tall after that. He said, "I agree." So yeah, we're not the only ones who think that.
I bet. And I feel like everybody forgets how many things come together to make a good magic performance. And
well, you talk to some of the great magicians and creators, and there's so many smart, intelligent geniuses in our field, not all of them do it for a living, but they're just interested in magic. I've met so many, PhDs and government heads and business heads and doctors and lawyers, and not just successful in money and so forth, but there's so many, artists and filmmakers and just everybody's magic has something that, that tickles the intellect. It's all there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's so many routes to go down.
There's so many paths to magic. Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
And there's so many paths to having a life in magic. There's no one path to follow. When somebody says, "Tell me how I should," I don't know. As many people are in the art of magic, that's how many ways there are to have a life in the art of magic, because there's no one route. There's no one way,
Exactly. And I love to hear about everybody's different audiences. You said you were first business and now your family, and so many people have so many different audiences. That's what always keeps me coming back, because there are so many possibilities of you can make a show for them.
Well, especially these days where it's you can burrow down and find your audience online, with these people exploring Zoom shows and doing online shows now. I mean, audience, you can kind of self-select, and audiences will self-select, and you can find your own. Everybody can find their own audience. You don't have to appeal to the lowest common denominator anymore to get you can be a little more targeted.
Before we go, is there anything, we have a lot of magicians listening. Is there anything that you want to tell the magicians you have upcoming, or something that you want to plug?
Well, I have a new project too. I have, now that I've COVID and I'm not performing, I have a show called The Magic Dave Show on Penguin. If you go to Penguin Magic, it's a bi-weekly show. I have a new episode every 2 weeks where I interview a guest, just like you're doing. And I'll also teach a trick and answer questions. So it's a fun show, half-hour subscription, or you can buy them individually. But go to Penguin Magic and look for The Magic Dave Show, or go to magicdaveshow.com and read about it there and check it out. Cool. That's the only thing I'm doing there. And the other message I have for all the magicians in the world: how many viewers do you have? How many listeners? 12 so far? No, magic's provided me with an incredible life. My whole life has been in magic. And the one message I like to pass along is, share your magic and be kind to the people coming up in magic, and remember all the kindnesses that were done to you as you were coming up in magic by people ahead of you. So kind of return that to the people coming up behind you. And that's how magic survives, not through books or downloads or products or anything like that, the marketplace. It's through individuals helping the next generation come along, and sharing and being open and honest about, the ups and downs of life and magic.
Yeah. And thank you for doing that same generosity towards me.
Of course. Really, and thank you for reaching out. It's really nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you too. Thank you so very much, David. Again, a huge thank you to David Williamson for taking the time to talk with me. David has been one of my idols for a long, long time, and it was a bucket list items to ask him the questions I've always wanted to. Thank you all for tuning in, and as always, if you want to help out the podcast, please leave a review and share it with someone who would enjoy it as well. If you have any questions or want to make a donation to help the podcast, email jake@jakestrongmagic.com. This is currently a very small project that I've been working on, but I would love to see it grow and reach as many people as possible. Thanks again, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week.